So I will start. Good afternoon, everybody, and we'll proceed with the hearing. All right. So we'll just introduce ourselves to start with. Oh no, I have to run through some how to.
Yeah.
Right. Do we appoint the chair? No. Yes. Well, between the three councillors, so you have myself, Councillor Khan, Councillor Clayton, and Councillor Hayward. And between the three of us, we need to appoint a chair to obviously chair the hearing that's about to take place. Okay, so I think there's either
Nominate you, Councillor Khan.
Thank you. I accept. I will accept that, so I will be chairing the meeting. All right, so right, let's proceed then. Do I introduce or do I go through? I'll go through the I haven't done this for a little while, so please bear with me. The first Kelly.
If you read those out, read everything.
Those there. So welcome the councillors and officers. And I can name the officers that we have here. We have Mr. Chris Parkhouse, who is the licensing officer, and we have Mrs. Hannah Pettifer, who is our legal officer to advise us on the proceedings. We've also got two clerks of the committee, and that's Mr. Turnbull and Mrs. Stanley. Okay. So there are just a few house rules here. There is no, in the event of a fire, there hasn't been one planned. So if the fire alarm goes off, it is the real thing, and we have to leave here, go out into the car park. But as far as we know, nothing planned. So if the fire alarm does go off, it's it will be for real. So, there's an assembly point out there. So
Yeah.
this one here, reminder to put, oh right, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. Reminder, please switch off your mobile phones to silent. If there are any members of the public or press attending this meeting virtually, can I please ask those attending virtually to switch off your microphone to avoid any disruption during the meeting? Is there anybody? No. The meeting is being recorded and will be available in due course on the council's YouTube channel. So it's all being recorded. Reminder for councillors to ensure that those attending virtually can hear the proceedings and for the recording to capture the entire meeting. So please ensure that to project your voice and speak clearly. Please remember it's a formal meeting and therefore do not refer to each other by first names. Please be aware that the contents displayed on your iPad or laptop may be seen by others or members of the public attending the meeting. Therefore, please close down screens which are displaying confidential information during the public part of the meeting. And I've just gone through the event of the fire alarm. So we'll move on to, do the applicants need to now introduce themselves, or am I going ahead and letting myself? Yeah.
Items 1 to 4 of the agenda.
Yeah. So items 1 to 4. So we'll move on to the agenda. Okay, and that is agenda items 1 to 4. So appointment of chair. We appointed myself. Councillor Khan. Apologies for absent.
I've had none.
No. Declarations of interest.
Declarations
Yeah.
made.
Items brought forward which in the opinion of the chair should be considered by the meeting as a matter of urgency. 5 to agree the agenda between part A and B. Confidential restricted information. Part A, application for the grant of a premises license to Noel Horston Restaurant, and that's on pages 5 to 56. There is no part B, so we don't have to go through that. So if we go straight into part A, item 6, which is the application. So I will pass it back now. Where's my little list? Yeah, name of applicants. So maybe. Can you introduce
Yeah,
yourself?
I'm Noel Clauston, and it's my restaurant.
Hi, I'm Jo Allen. This is my partner Andy Hill. We live sort of adjoining to the area where the restaurant is located.
Okay, so either side of the actual entrance.
Yeah, there's like a passageway that connects the pavement to what was the restaurant at the rear. There's sort of 2 steps in the passageway and then sort of doubles on through to the restaurant.
Looking at the premises, front on, you're to the left or the right?
We're to the right.
To the right.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Right, so we now proceed with the actual application. Is that over to our licensing officer or our legal officer?
If I can just summarise the process for you. Basically, our licensing officer, Mr. Parkhouse, will present his report as he has investigated it. The applicants or the applicant's representatives, if applicable, will present their case. The members will then ask questions. The applicant is then allowed to call witnesses, or if there are no witnesses, that will be the end of your part. If you had any witnesses, then the members would be able to question them. The applicants would then sum up. The committee is then formally adjourned to take legal advice, and the officers and applicants are asked to leave during the consideration. The members then discuss the case and seek legal advice. And then after that, it's the decision-making process. If they decide to grant, then they'll grant and confirm any conditions if applicable. If they decide to refuse, then they'll give reasons why they're refusing. The applicant and their officers then re-enter and the meeting resumes, and the clerk is asked, or someone will read the decision and give it to the applicant. And the members then vote to either move the decision, and then the hearing is closed. Does anybody have any questions about that?
So if we disagree with your decision, is there a process of appealing?
There is, and that will be given at the end.
Okay.
That's probably okay.
Taking from the licensing to present.
Okay, thank you. First of all, can I ask Chair that you, I gave you some additional documents that have been made available since the report was initially done. So I've got, there's a document from the objectors showing some photographs and some information on to further enhance their representation. There's also some photographs provided by the applicant themselves as well in a separate document. I've also provided the committee with a Google Maps photo of the outside of the building, just so they can get an idea of where your building fits in with. So if you're happy to include those. Also, sorry, Chair, also one of the representatives has been withdrawn, so the objectors have withdrawn their applicant, so there is only one objection in place now.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll present my formal report now. Yes, an application to grant premises license for Noel Clauston Restaurants was accepted by the authority on the 28th of April, with the consultation starting on that day, and the representation was on the 28th of May 2026. The proposed licensable activities and hours applicable within the application was the supply of alcohol on and off the premises, Monday to Sunday from 11 AM till 11 PM. The full application is provided in Appendix A of the report, and also a plan of the premises is included in Appendix B of your report. As I said earlier, the subcommittee's also been provided with a Google Maps image of the outside of the premises to give a greater understanding of the proximity of the objectors. Relevant representations have been received in relation to the following licensing objectives, those being the prevention of public nuisance, public safety, and the protection of children from harm. In terms of responsible authorities, no representations have been received from any of the responsible authorities. As part of the consultation process, a police licensing officer from Devon and Cornwall Police reviewed and agreed the conditions with the applicant as part of the consultation process, and they're enclosed in Appendix E of your report. The licensing authority had initially received 2 representations from the public. However, since the publication of the report, a mediation meeting was held between the applicant and the objectors, Sarah Carson and Jordan Bookham. They have now withdrawn their representation as part of that mediation. It was agreed with the applicant that he would make no alcohol sales after 2100. Sales after that time would only be with a meal, and I'll let Mr. Corson expand on that as part of his representation. The remaining objection is from Mr. Andrew Heel and Ms. Joanne Hallam, neighbouring residents of the restaurant. The representation expresses concern with regards to the licensing objectives of prevention of public nuisance, public safety, and the protection of children from harm. The representation raises a particular concern relating to noise nuisance associated with the use of the outside area. The issues relating to public safety, identifying concerns relating to access and egress from the private property or to their private property through the licensed area. They also raise concerns relating to protection of children from harm, potentially from children accessing the licensed area. That's the whole representation is included in Appendix C. In terms of protection from children from harm, that generally relates to actually people accessing the premises. In this case, there's no restrictions on access to children throughout the premises. The applicant's obviously operating Challenge 25, so they won't be serving to underage people, but there are some premises do have restrictions on allowing access for children, but this particular premise does not. Also, there have been no complaints made to North Devon Council in relation to Noel Corston restaurants previously. So the committee need to take into consideration relevant licence policy aspects. Subcommittee is entitled to draw upon those considerations outlined in the council's licensing policy document. However, the most significant policy considerations appear to be in the following paragraphs: 3.3 to 3.32, which relates to public safety, paragraphs 3.4 to 3.45, which is prevention of public nuisance, and paragraphs 3.5 to 3.52, which relates to protection of children from harm. The subcommittee is also entitled to draw upon any of the considerations outlined in the statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, and which is published by the Home Office. And the most significant statutory guidance appears to be the following: paragraphs 2.8 to 2.20, which is public safety, paragraphs 2.21 to 2.27, prevention of public nuisance, and paragraphs 2.28 to 2.37, protection of children from harm. That's my representation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for very and the extra details that we've received here. Right, do we go now to our the applicants? Yeah. So, Mr. Corson, I'll sort of pass to you now. If you would like to start, sort of.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I mean, understandably, I've never been called to anything like this in my life, and been in operation 23 years, so I'm a little bit nervous. I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet and concise for your benefit. Okay. There are underlying issues I'd like for the chair and the committee to be aware of that with regards to myself and my neighbours. I'm not going to go into that. It's of no consequence here, but there are issues concerning the use of that area by him. And when I told him no, there's been problems ever since. I believe that's why he doesn't want us to use it. That's completely relevant. I think it is here, but it's no, I don't want to make it a major thing today. I just want you guys to be aware. So I've got a license there. I've had it for 23 years. We've run it successfully as a restaurant for 23 years. We always worked with the local authorities in every capacity, the fire, the police department, the EHO specifically, and everybody else who governs and legislates how we operate in North Devon. We run it as a high-end restaurant. We run it as a brasserie. We've adapted and we've changed, and we've modelled the premises differently according to how we've needed to do over the course of the years. Okay. Previously, my parents were involved, but this year I've just taken over the business myself. My wife and I have just taken over the premises because we live there now. We built a house. So fundamentally, this is an operation of housekeeping. The first discussions with Charlie Northcott, what I wanted to achieve was to bring everything up to date. We're changing the names on the banks and the phones and everything. So it's all coming into my name. Therefore, it makes sense at this stage for us to change the name on the license. Okay, so that you guys are up to speed with what's going on and it's all in the boxes as they should be. The second reason for me wanting to change the license with a new grant rather than just a variation of the existing, Charlie advised that that's probably the cleanest way to go because it's just a clear break with a new business. It's all about the footprint. So you've got a floor plan now, I believe, of the restaurant. I think on either side you can see my house on one side, and you can also see an apartment that we've just sold on the other side. So at present, my current license issued in 2003. Basically, I can sell beer in my lounge, which obviously is not what I want to do, and it's a domestic premises. So now we want to update this. It's housekeeping for yourselves, as I say, more than anything. The only real other thing that I would like to achieve with this application is off sales, because we successfully sold natural wines during lockdown, and that was quite productive, quite lucrative. And we thought if we can continue to do that, now that legislation's changed with regards to that, then that would be a nice little avenue stream, given that we now offer an element of takeaway with our business, approximately 15–20%. Okay. So those are the key fundamental reasons for this license application. Update the name, update the footprint, and apply for upsells. However, given that I'm 400 quid deep, I thought, why don't I just apply for a full license? Now, presently, we've had this license for years. There's never been 23 years. In fact, there's never, to my knowledge, been an issue with that. If there has been any issues with regards to me specifically speaking to the police about the business premises, it's been noise pollution from other areas. Okay, so it's nothing to do with our operations ourselves. So I thought to myself, okay, let's apply for a full license. All the way through thinking, yeah, it'll be a cherry on the cake. But to be quite honest, having operated for a few weeks now this season, we haven't even got enough chairs for an outside license. So that's not something that we're looking at doing. When I spoke to Jordan and Sarah, I offered a complete U-turn on that. And they said, no, don't be ridiculous, Noel. You're trying to make a living. You paid for the application. Let's say 9 o'clock cut. And they agreed that, and that was fine. But I did offer a complete U-turn. They said 9 o'clock. I see that as completely reasonable, which is why we subsequently offered it to these guys. Okay. And what was it? The other reason, the reason that I wanted to extend the footprint down to the front was specifically in the interests of lack of noise pollution for said neighbours here, principally because I can at present put either a tiki bar or a speaker or any other thing I can do within my licensed space on the top step directly outside of their property, which I haven't ever done and I wouldn't choose to do. We are quite away from the street. Over the years, we have found it a struggle to attract people up from the street. So the idea of having a small background speaker, like a little Sonos speaker down the front, adjacent to Jordan and Sarah's house. Yes, he's got a bedroom window. I'll come to that shortly. The idea of doing that, I would need for that area to be licensed. Okay, so that is why I'm looking for the footprint. We're all aware in the room that the appropriation of alcohol needs to happen within the red line. However, within the business premises and the map on the plan, people are allowed to consume because consumption is not a licensable activity, correct? So basically, as long as the beer and the wine and whatever else is stored within the red line and the appropriation that happens there, we can use our space at the front. I've sent you, okay, so first of all, I just want to address the issues that have been brought up by my upstairs neighbours. Okay? I'm going to address them in order. As far as I understand, there's three things, like Chris just said: public danger, child safety, and ASB, antisocial behaviour, public noise disturbance, whichever we want to term it. So public danger. Okay. A pavement licence, as I understand, Okay, it should be 900 to 1500 mil wide, okay, before a license is given for somebody to have a pavement license, and then they can have people there. That's as I understand. I quote, a wheelbarrow and a wheelchair disabled facility, so on and so forth, right? We've never denied this. I've sent historic photos today of tables and chairs, which date back to pre these guys owning it and during the early years when they did own it. We used to have sheds that were 1.2 meters wide down the bottom off of the wall. So we've always left approximately 1500 mil or more. With regards to the height and the awning from said heighting, the said height from the awning, to which they've raised an objection in the recent communication. First and foremost, let's cut to the chase and establish the fact that if that height is a problem, he wouldn't get in through the front gate because it's the same height. And also he wouldn't get in through the inner archway because it's exactly the same height. So as far as I'm concerned, we are given a generous, proportionate access for their pedestrian access, as is stated in the deeds. I'd like to know how much access they think they should have, because I'm not entirely sure if the problem is with noise disturbance, antisocial behaviour, or if it stems from they want the area clear. Because I could put all my bins there, I could put a tiki bar there, I could do a lot of things, but we don't, out of respect. We don't like them, but we wish them no ill, and we certainly don't want to disturb their peace. Jordan downstairs was very happy to do a speaker check with me if this license goes ahead and it's right to the bottom with regards to is that noisy or is it not? And we've got an open dialogue whereby if there's an issue, they're going to come to me rather than troubling yourselves. And if we can't nip it in the bud, then obviously things would escalate, but with open policy. On the other side, above said awning, Rob and his wife, it's a holiday let that they use it for themselves. But she was in fact in for dinner the other night, sitting in the entrance area under her kitchen window, which as I understand from the EHO is of more concern during the hours of our opening. So we stop from 7 food at 9 o'clock. People aren't considered that in the bedrooms. That's not an issue. This is what I was told by the EHO. During daytime hours, it's living spaces. So if it's a living space that directly overlooks Andy and Joe, their living space is on the 3rd floor. They're a 2nd floor masonette and their room is in the loft. And have a bedroom downstairs. So actually her kitchen window is directly adjacent. She has no problem. She's a client, very complimentary of the business. Jordan's bedroom window is directly onto the property, onto the alleyway, the entrance. He has no problem at all with a 9 o'clock cut-off point. Okay. And with regards to access, we are above and beyond what it would be deemed necessary for a pavement license or a fire escape or anything else. We've built the house. I'm aware of building control regulations. So we don't look to deny them access. The footage they've sent you shows that. There is a photo of a gentleman sat on a chair from a camera that's looking 50% onto my property, which shouldn't be, but it's looking onto my property. And there's a gentleman sat on a chair. This is a guy called Steve. He lives 3 doors up. He had a stroke a couple of years ago. In fact, we all went to his wedding. This was our opening night. And Steve, bless him, came in. I offered them a table at the top. They wanted to sit there. Okay. They chose to sit there. It was all a little bit embarrassing for them because he couldn't get onto the picnic table. And it was all a little bit embarrassing and busy for us because it was our first night. So we thought, okay, well, we'll offer you a chair. Now, I'm not sure that that was an issue with coming or going. If it was, I'd ask you to wrap my knuckles now, and it's not going to happen again because I've already told them next time you need to be sat at the top. But what I do know is that Andy and Joe know Steve well enough to say, oh, excuse me, Steve, can I squeeze by? And given the health conditions this gentleman suffered and the fact that we were trying to make him feel welcome without causing embarrassment, that's quite a bit of a sore spot. That was a little bit below the belt, I felt. The police comments with regards to viewing my CCTV access of Andy Hill coming and going with his sports equipment are, I quote from PC Hyde, I see no issues there, okay? So he sees no issues with regards to coming and going with the CCTV footage with Andy with 2 kayaks and bikes, day in, day out, not a problem. The police deem this as absolutely without a problem, okay? So that deals with the access and the public danger element. It's not seen as dangerous and the access is sufficient. Moving on to child safety. So I've been a licensed premises there for 23 years. We've run it as a family restaurant, the Courtyard initially with my parents. My initials at the postcode was another rat flag that it limbed under. Won't go into it. Marriott Hotels wanted the name, so we just changed it on the fly. That was that. Okay. And there's never been a problem because it's been a family restaurant. Recently, we've run it. We've been in the Michelin Guide for the last 8 years. We asked to be pulled out because we were changing the concept. Okay, so it will turn into a more of a high-end restaurant. 10 people, 2 nights a week, £300 a head. Very nice for me, but my son's 18 now, so I'm creating a job for him. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Therefore, with the reduced footprint, we need to use the outside space, which is licensed, which we are, as I understand, within our rights to do, provided we offer access that's more than sufficient and we're respectful of neighbours in close proximity. The other thing with regards to child safety, as I like to add at this point, we're in Woolacombe. There's a lot of campsites, and basically 80% of the people coming through the restaurant now have got children, and the chairs outside and inside are interspersed so that buggies and dogs slide in alongside them. If somebody doesn't, that's not a permanent fixture, and the minute we spot it, we'll put it right. This is how we try and manage things. But the nature of the beast, I can also show you photos of takeaways over the road in and around Woolacombe when it goes crazy. You cannot move there. You cannot, there's not even a postage stamp. So we try and manage it the best we can. Okay. But it is a family business for families where the majority of people are children. So I really don't understand why there's a concern for children visiting my neighbours going through a licensed premises. It's never been any different. Okay. Antisocial behaviour, 100% acknowledge that. Completely agree. I'm 48 years old. I've been cooking since I was 16, and I've worked at the top of my game. And I've also worked in Woolacombe cooking for the masses. Okay, I've got a 14-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old son, and we live on the premises as well. Okay, we get on with all our other neighbours. I have absolutely no intention of running a pub there, which is why when I spoke to Jordan and Sarah, I said, you bought your first house together. I'm stoked for you. What I really don't want is to think you bought a dud, that you've got this guy living back next door that's not going to work. So I will do that U-turn if you ask me. And they said, no, 9 o'clock, fine. But I did offer that because food at the restaurant, we open Tuesday to Saturday, 5 till 9. Okay. And we offer lunch service on Saturday, 12 till 3. We might pick up an extra day, a few more lunches in the summer, and that's it. Outside of those hours, we've no one there. Somebody orders tacos at 9 o'clock. They're walking out the door at 9 o'clock. I think the latest night we've had, I was sat at the front with a friend of mine who I haven't seen for years. We gave her and her husband a bottle of wine out of our personal wine store, and they're sat there, the last 2 people, and it was 25 to 10 on Bank Holiday Saturday, which I don't think is in the slightest bit offensive, and there was certainly no music playing. Okay, I think that's perfectly reasonable. So the 9 o'clock was offered, okay, and Berkeley House agreed. I've mentioned that the neighbours upstairs are also on side. The other chap who lives below on the other side can't wait to come in for tacos. He works away on the boat. He'll be coming in shortly. Okay, so I'm concluding now, guys, so I appreciate your attention. But in summary, we've run the business successfully in accordance with all authoritative bodies, advice and legislation, and never had any issues with, in fact, our neighbours complaining being previous clients. As the photos prove, the area to the front, as well as inside the restaurant, have over the years been used as necessary for our business operation. All the relative authorities have been consulted. Licensing committee will vouch for that. Police will vouch for that. The fire will vouch for that. The EHO, from a noise point of view, I recently emailed them with regards to the thresholds. They said we deal with everything individually, but we don't want to close businesses unnecessarily. So we'll review it, and if there's a problem, we'll let you know. So that's that. Everyone's been dealt with. Okay. And 2 more things I just want to say, folks. Hospitality at the moment, you're all aware of what's going on, and everyone's shouting for the VAT and how difficult it is. I've been in the industry since I was 16, okay, and 23 of those years self-employed with a family business. We've bought and played for the business. We've built property and sold it. We live on site. My son's just finished Petrock. He's coming and working for me full time. Okay. My wife is now working full-time hours where she previously wasn't. I'm working full-time hours where I previously wasn't. We're going to employ 2 more people, getting 2 extra bin collections a week. We're spending approximately 400% more on purchasing each week. I'm turning over approximately 400% more turnover, more cash flow than we were this time last year. All that money is going into businesses in North Devon. We're spending the money that we take in North Devon. It's a cycle that's going on the up, and I don't see what we're doing wrong. If we're doing something wrong, or if it's the potential for us to do something wrong, I want to be well aware of it so that I can put it right. That's how I've always operated, and I've always been in close contact with the council. So just to finish, I've offered a 9 p.m. cut-off point for alcohol sales. Okay, we've provided 1,500 by 2,400 ml of access, top to bottom, unrestricted. Okay, I've apologised for the chair with my friend Steve, who had a stroke sitting there. That won't happen again. Okay. And so this is more than generous for access. And I have to be honest, I'm not entirely sure, given that Jordan and Sarah were prompted and now they've retracted since I've spoken to them and shown them exactly what's going on. I'm not entirely sure why I'm sat here today having to justify a hypothetical situation that may happen with regards to noise pollution when there hasn't been one in 23 years. And when the guys who are actually closer, 3 separate properties, there's 2 either side, they're masonettes upstairs, downstairs. These 3 properties are quite happy with what we do, mitigated with them, and these guys are clients. And I've got this issue, and I do believe it's a personal vendetta against my family and myself. I need to use that space. You've seen the reduction in floor space in my restaurant as a result of the house, as a result of another flat. That area has been reduced. I need to use my floor space. Don't think I'm breaking the law. If I am, please tell me, and I'll do everything I can to put it right. And if I'm disturbing these guys, I want to know in what capacity so that equally I can put that right. We're flourishing as a business. We want to drive it forward. We want to create employment. We want to do things the right way. Thank you.
Right, well, so we move on to the next phase.
Yeah, so Chair, if I don't know if you would mind, but maybe it would be an opportunity now to hear from the objectors.
Yeah.
And then do questions afterwards.
Yeah.
Is there something immediate to ask Mr. Causton?
No, not immediate. I think that, you know, the 3 of us on the panel here can sort of come back with our questions. Yeah, if the other 2 members are quite happy, and yes, to move on then to the objections. Obviously, can I just point out, and this applies to both, that this is about the licensing and any other bit around ownership of the land or you know, walking through. That's not totally a licensing issue, so we are just looking, and that would apply to both of them.
I understand that
Party
completely, but
is
because
about the
Mr.
way-
Colston has mentioned that there was a problem between us, I would, and you now know that, and that might, even though you're trying to be impartial, well, just so you're aware, we had to call the police, and him and his wife were cautioned. So, you know, the issues are not, it is true, the police, she was cautioned, okay? His wife was cautioned, okay, so.
Okay, so can we move on to the licensing?
I'd like to say
You know,
that's not
we are listening to
It is
both
true, I
parties.
have a file.
Can I- excuse
a
me.
number,
Excuse me,
an incident number.
guys, can I just say, we've listened to Mr. Corson, we will now listen to you,
Yeah.
and I can assure both parties that we will not be influenced, we will look at it exactly as it should be looked at. We've got a legal advisor that will support us in our decision, and there will be, you know, it will be made sort of between us. So whatever disputes going on about the land, whatever, you know, unless it's here in the documents that we've been reading, that's not something that we may not be looking at within the licensing objectives, okay, which there have been 3 of. So if I now pass back to you guys to, you know.
Obviously, there's quite a lot.
Yeah, maybe I could intervene. Perhaps you choose who's going to speak.
Yeah.
And
Can I speak?
and you keep it succinct.
Yeah.
Because we're also
Basically, we've never had a problem with Noel's business at all over the years. We've lived there over 20 years. It's always been at the back of the building, at the back of the restaurant. The access passageway has always been kept clear. So with people coming and going to the restaurant, they arrive, they're out the back, they leave. You know, nobody's sort of in the passageway for very long, which is absolutely fine. You hear noise when people leave, but we live in a place where there is business as well as residential. So you can, you know, manage a little bit of noise here and there. The problem comes for us is the access. With people being in that passageway, noise is amplified because it is a passage and half of it is covered. So at the top of our stairs, we have a conservatory, windows open onto the passageway. Above the conservatory, we have a roof terrace, which is normally quite quiet out the back. It lines alongside the passageway. Our lounge windows upstairs, we've got one window at the front, the other two windows open onto the back, so you get the noise from the passageway. When people are sitting at the rear where the restaurant's always been, you can hear people, you can hear the hubbub of people, which is fine. You can't hear every word in every conversation like you can when they're in the passageway. There's also there's sort of pub style picnic benches. And whilst there is room, obviously, to walk through, there are dogs, there are pushchairs, there are people serving food, trays of drinks. It's not unobstructed. We've been advised by our solicitor, looking at the deeds to the property, that a right of access means unobstructed access across the area at all times. That's what we've been told. In the past, there have been storage sheds, but there's been no obstruction to and from, which we've been happy to live with. And some of the tables are directly opposite our gate. We've got a small yard, we kayak, we've got surfboards, we've got a 13-foot sea kayak. Getting that out of the gate, you have to take it out upright and then turn it. And getting it out, obviously you can't get it out if the canopy's down. And then turning it whilst people are sat on tables eating dinner is not possible. I mean, they will have to move to get the kayaks safely out of the gate. Luckily, we've taken them out before there's been no one sitting on the top table. Also, the way the tables are set out, they're on both sides, so it's not a clear run, it's a zigzag through, which makes it difficult with a sea kayak on a trolley. There's not been a lot of kayaking going on because my partner's had a hip replacement, so we haven't been going out a lot, but from the next week you get to the all clear, you know, that we want to enjoy where we live. We want to take equipment out and practice our hobbies unobstructed. So the last couple of weeks, Mr. Corsten has been moving some of the benches into the back where the restaurant always was. Absolutely brilliant. You know, no problem with that at all. No problem with people being out there drinking, enjoying themselves. It's just having that clear access and that quieter sound of people. And that's all it is. We've got nothing against him or his business. Obviously, we've had issues. We keep ourselves to ourselves, just, you know, cross paths every now and then. And yeah, I mean, the child thing, it's not about children being in the restaurant. We've got one, soon to be two grandchildren who are possibly coming over to stay for a couple of months next summer. We don't really want to be coming in and out of people eating and drinking from midday till 9 o'clock at night. It's like you live in the back of a restaurant suddenly, and it's our only access to our house. So I'm hoping there's some compromise where the tables directly outside can be moved to the back permanently, where there is space. It's actually a nice, lovely little courtyard at the back. There's a nice ambience, plenty of room at the entrance to the tunnel where the pavement is to have some really nice signage saying, you know, courtyard restaurant this way, even single benches so people could wait for takeaways. It's purely, yeah, that. I think that's covers most of it.
Okay. Chair.
Yeah.
There's so many questions.
Yeah, but you need to add. Yeah. Yes.
Can you just confirm that this is your only access? To
Yes, it's the
Yeah,
only
That's
access.
the
to our
only
property.
access we have. Right. Yeah, there's no back door, there's no stairway in other than that way.
We're the only neighbour that has access through. The house is on one side, there's no windows at all onto it. Mr. Corsten said about the kitchen window upstairs, it's a holiday home, so it's a little bit different. We do have living area and bedrooms and roof terrace all along that access way. So, and in the past, it's always been a passageway to get to the entrance to the restaurant. It's never, I mean, there might have been a bistro table out there at some point 20 odd years ago, but I don't remember anyone ever sitting out there. So it's more the change of area. I realise these guys have built their own home at the back. That's reduced the size of the restaurant down. But I don't think that that should go against us, that suddenly we have to live in a restaurant because they've decided to change half of theirs to domestic. It seems unfair.
Councillor Clayton, was there any other question that you wanted to add to that as your question?
I was going to ask Mr. Carpenter something related to it, actually. First of all, clarification about this 9 PM thing. And we've come to some arrangement with other objectors who've now rescinded their objection. Can you just talk me through what that actually means, the 9 PM? Does that mean that there'll be people sitting outside on these tables, but they cannot order alcohol to drink after 9 o'clock?
Yeah, so
But they could order it at 5 to 9 and be drinking there till
the way
10:30.
Chris will know better than I, but the way licensing works is you're in a pub, you order a pint at 11 o'clock, and I believe they give you 30 minutes drinking up time. Okay, so if somebody's there and they order a beer or a glass of wine, whatever, at 9 o'clock, then they're there past 9 basically, but they get like a 30-minute drinking up period. But the cut-off point of purely alcohol sales. But I mean, as I did say, I'd be super happy to do a U-turn on that. This is not the major fundamental thing. We're a family restaurant, and ultimately we're looking for the floor space. It wasn't my understanding that I'm here today to sort of justify how I'm using my already licensed premises. This is a housekeeping, updating things. I'm not really trying here to push for me to be able to have tables and chairs on my own property, which is already licensed. I think our license runs to 11 o'clock or it might even be midnight. The current one we've got, we did it so long ago with food and drink. But, I mean, even these guys will say, as the restaurant has always been, even back in the day when it was super busy, we run it as a bigger operation. 11 o'clock's a late night, but actually nowadays the food stops at 9. So if the food stops at 9, nature of the beast, no one's ordering drinks after that. And we've already got that in place as we're operating, aside from the access issue. And I've discussed this at length with Charlie Northcott with regards to the licensing capacity. What we're doing is completely okay. And I've also prompted the EHO. And I believe, the police, like I say, they've already said he sees no issues with coming and going. He did say we could have it on one side or the other, but I will at this point highlight the fact that we put the benches on the top step on this wall with my neighbour's wall being the other side. And the reason we did that was specifically to give them, so that they're not directly up against their wall. But if they prefer us to put the bench on the other side, that's not a problem. But the alleyway measures approximately 2.6 metres, and those picnic benches are 102 centimetres wide. So, there's nearly 1.6 metres of clearance. I understand about kayaks, but in the same breath as they say, oh, well, it wasn't always used for a seating area, which you've got photos proving the contrary. Equally, I don't remember kayaks being there 15 years ago either. So there's a new interest in kayaking, which I understand, and that's great. If you enjoy the area, please do. I do as well. But with regards to using the property and needing specific amount of access for a new hobby, well, the chairs were there before the kayaks were there, and the license was there in 2003 before they bought the place. So we don't want them to live inside a restaurant. We really don't. We're very conscious of noise pollution, and this is something that I'd be super happy to work with. I'd be super happy to mitigate on. But the 9 o'clock cut-off point, to answer your question, yes, it's exactly that. 9 o'clock for alcohol-only sales. Current license is sort of as is for the food framework. That I believe should remain. We used to have a sliding roof. It had to be closed at 9 o'clock. I get all of that. I'm super happy to bend over backwards to have a little bit of peace and to try and draw a line under things and get things moving so that everyone's enjoying their life. I'm not here to dig my feet in the sand, but I'm not sure what more I can offer.
Right, can I just say something, please? So Mr. Corsten's just pointed out that they had a retractable roof that had to close. There's no retractable roof in the passageway, and it goes from being completely empty of people to having 20 people sat there, because he's having 4 benches, if not 5, 4 people per bench, constantly there, noise pollution, people in the way all the time.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Hayward, Booth, you have a question?
Yes, I wonder if you could just give us more of a picture of the comings and goings with your sports equipment. I think, can you remind me of the licensing hours when you're serving food? And then I'd like to hear about the coming and goings with your sports equipment.
So the restaurant opens at 5 p.m. and it closes at 9 in terms of food orders. And on a Saturday, we open 12 till 3. That's what we do at the moment. We're probably going to be picking up Mondays as well. So Sunday will be closed and it'll be 5 till 9 and then 12 till 3 on a Saturday. As I say, we live there too. It does encroach on our home and we're super keen to have our own privacy and, you know, we're really around it as well.
When the rebranding happened and the tables appeared outside, it was 12 till 3, 5 till close. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it was obviously bank holiday weekend, more days, times vary, obviously. So it makes it difficult. I mean, generally with us, I mean, Andy teaches beginners kayaking, that's in the evening in a pool, so that would be. And after, I mean, I finish work at 5, so going out, conditions allowing, would be after 5 o'clock, after work, coming back, you know.
Well, this time of the
couple
year,
hours
it goes
later,
dark
really.
at 9, 10 o'clock, so I'd be out kayaking and coming back at any time between 5, you know, and sometimes I'd go out or will be going out kayaking in the morning and coming back 6, 5 o'clock. You know, I might go out twice a day, so I might go out in the morning, come back in the afternoon, go out in the evening, come back in the later evening, you know.
There's also longboards. Andy cycles to work, so when he cycles to work in the morning, obviously nobody's there, but when he comes back from work, you've got people sitting.
We've got
you know,
dogs on lead that are obstructing the entrance, you know, people with boards, people with trolleys,
beach trolleys.
beach trolleys, you
It's-
know.
It just makes it all awkward, and it seems that when
In the past, when everything was out the back, it was fine.
Yeah.
You know, I've got no problem with the licensing whatsoever,
in the
but now
last,
they're moving it to the front and they want licensing there. It just doesn't seem fair.
in the last few weeks, when they've moved the tables out to the back and they've only had people out the back, it works. There's no less seats. It's just laid out differently. And I don't see why that can't be the way it's run and it's always been run. It just seems that having the benches down the access passage is making it awkward for no reason, really.
Would it be possible for Mr. Causton to comment on what you share?
So £15 a plate for food, okay? If I've got 5 benches, they all seat 4, as I mentioned, they're 100 centimetres wide. Okay, so that'd be 500 ml per person. I'm probably wider than that myself. Half those tables go to table 2. We've got 5 till 9 service hours, okay, with an element of takeaway. So yes, we do need the benches. And yes, we've gone from having a large restaurant to a small restaurant to utilising our already licensed premises down the front. I'm not quite sure. I kind of want to get. I kind of want to move this along and answer all the questions, and I kind of want to get to a bit of a conclusion whereby these guys are happy with the situation and they're happy with the cut-off point of the licensing, or they're just going to completely say no to everything. The benches outside their front door, they're not. There's 2 benches, and the benches
You
there.
can see by the pictures that they are.
You see where they are.
You can also see the pictures.
If I could just ask the objectors to allow only one person to speak at once, so that we are being recorded and it's just obstructs the sound.
So we played with different new business. We played with different areas for the benches to go. And yeah, in actual fact, we've got a gazebo on the top patio. A for the rain, and B because it muffles noise as well, which, you know, as I say, we sort of get. It is a little bit restricted to have all the benches in there, but as these guys say, we've been doing that of late. The weather's not been on our side. But I'd like to get to a point where they can realise the necessity for us using our footprint, and it's already licensed, and I'm looking to compromise, or I'll just surrender whatever you give me and carry on as I was before. I'm not really not looking to change the world here. I'm looking to be completely fair, to mitigate successfully and get to a point where these guys are happy, we're happy, we go our separate ways. They live with our lives there and I live there. But I don't understand how the dominance of the canoe scenario over my business, which is offering employment and injecting cash and taking cash and promoting everything else. Enjoyment of your home, yes. Kayaks are stored in the bin store area, which restrict a fire escape from my downstairs neighbours. That shouldn't be the case. There's sheds, log stores that shouldn't be there. Shouldn't be the case.
Chair, can I just stop, Mr. Colston? I beg your pardon, sorry. Can I have a question, please? Because I just want to ask, is there a reason why you as parties haven't attended mediation?
We haven't spoken directly for nearly 3 years since there was some
A
verbal
police
abuse
incident.
and
No,
physical abuse.
but why did, is there a reason, would you be both prepared to attend
I'd be
mediation?
happy. In fact, I've been discussing this with
I
PC.
find it very difficult to go down that route because Mr. Clausen is a liar. And he says one thing and then does another.
What he says.
Yeah, and to the point where he's denied saying things when we've had text messages, and yet then when we've sent the text messages saying you did say this, or you did say you would do that, and you know, but in there's just no way of dealing. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillors, do you have any more questions?
Yes, I mean, I've got, I think what's happening here is a civil matter. And I think probably that needs to be resolved about who has access to it, who actually, so yes, I do have a question. Who actually owns the access through to, so that's,
Myself and my
so,
wife.
Mr. Clausen, so
We have
There-
a right of access.
I understood it
you
was Mr. Dawson's
yeah,
house.
so this is where I think probably it's not for the licensing to sort that out. I think it's very much a civil matter. But I do as chair have a question for Mr. Corson, if you don't mind answering it. And obviously that question has been answered. How long have you been operating with the tables in that, we'll call it the alleyway entrance? How long and what licenses have you had to be and address maybe the amount of people that are out on the tables, or any issues that have arisen?
Before, could I ask Mr. Parkhouse to answer part of that on your behalf, please? Could you answer?
Right, thank
So
you.
Mr. Corson has an existing license that allows him to use tables and chairs, but it's at present he's got to have it with a meal, so it's got to be served with a meal.
Yes.
So the red area the red area denotes where sale can take place, and as Mr. Corson alluded to earlier, consumption is not a licensable activity. So under his existing license, he can use that area anyway.
Anyway, but without with
But
but
we
this is
won't
with
be able to
alcohol.
make a sale. He talks about his because extended the red area down to the pavement means he could, if he wanted to do sales within that area. But as we've said, it's only consumption. Consumption isn't licensable, so it is viable to use that area for consumption only.
Right. So that area, let's get clear, is not up for dispute whether it's usable. It's your area. You've already been using it. This is a license to have alcohol with a meal, and it's already been used serving
Yeah, the
food.
current license is with a meal. The proposed new license includes off sales, which the existing one doesn't, and it includes sale without a meal. So it's taken off that restriction
Right. So
on
this
sale
is just
with
purely to serve alcohol with the meals that you've already been serving out in. Right.
Yeah, so I don't mean to sort of chip in, but just to say, that's why I tried to clarify initially, maybe I didn't do it properly, but the reason for this application is housekeeping. It's updating the name, it's updating the footprint. We say they've got sort of building works going on, and primarily it's for off sales. Okay.
Right.
And the two secondary things that I'm hoping to achieve is the license to the front, and that's for a speaker, not for alcohol, because all appropriation happens within the red line inside the premises. And obviously, why wouldn't I apply for a full license? And I've said 9 o'clock is a reasonable time. Everyone else has agreed. I'm happy to bend over backwards. I'll pull that. Just to, this is not about the tables, as you said.
And you have appropriate licenses for the music that, you know, that you just
Yeah,
played.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought on the licensing thing, it said that there wasn't going to be any music. This is the first I've heard of it.
Music is all regulated up to 11 o'clock under the Live Music Act. So licenses do not have to have music on them between 8 in the morning and 2300 at night.
If it was to pose a problem, I'd like to be made aware of it so that I can meet. You know.
No, I think we looked on there, there was no, but you've obviously clarified that with the music side of it. So we are just looking here at a license to have alcohol served to the people that are sitting outside and have been sitting out there for a little while, eating food.
Correct.
You did ask the question how long he'd been doing that. Even though the license has been there, he's only been doing it from the beginning of this year.
But the food, you've only been serving
That using
food.
that area, using that area.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. It's true. So what we've done is we've informed the business to build it. It's a great big house. I said my son's on board. We're looking to grow it. The benches arrived this year. You've got the photos of benches, of tables and chairs there in the past. So
Can I ask one more question now?
Yes.
I mean, it seems to be a lot of this is your primary objection is about a kayak. And
And the
being able
noise,
to
the
manoeuvre-
noise it's going to
Okay,
generate.
okay, the noise, but you seem to be motivated more by the kayak and you've had a hip operation.
Yeah.
So whilst these tables have been in situ.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of this year. Have you actually manoeuvred your?
Yeah,
kayak?
once I went, so I teach, I belong to Bideford Cricket Club and I coach on a Thursday evening at Torrington, teaching, you know, all ages to kayak, you know, and so we took the kayaks out and they had tables stacked on top of one another directly out of our entrance, and I had to maneuver the table out of the way to be able to get my kayak round.
Sorry, but that meant when people were eating.
Well, the idea, no, not since then, because I had my operation.
That's what I
Right,
meant.
so I've had 7 weeks this Friday, so from the end of this month, beginning of July is when I see the consultant and get the all clear, and then that will then commence, you know, on a daily basis.
So, I've got a few comments on, I mean, what, if the kayak thing is still existing there, and obviously it's going to be, you're going to have people sitting down, now is hip done. Do you not see a problem there might be
so
when maneuvering a kayak amongst people who are eating their food? Well,
So I'll quote PC High from Ilfracombe Constabulary. I don't see any issues with coming and going with his sports equipment, i.e. bikes, coming and going. I've got Ebony Alarms installed CCTV. I've got footage of it coming and going. I don't wait to see what's happening, but inevitably, if there's people coming and going in the passage, my kitchen looks straight down the alleyway. I can see it. So I've got pictures of Mr. Hill coming and going with a kayak, with a full restaurant, no problem whatsoever. Coming with a bike, no problem whatsoever. If there's a problem, I mean, how much space do you need to get a kayak through? I understand what they're saying about the awning, and I do take that on board, which is why if you look at the photos that I sent over to Chris this morning, you'll see it's only actually covering the width of the table in the most recent photos. And you'll also see on those the spacings in between the tables for buggies and dogs and so on and so forth. That's a constantly managing thing. It's like a pub. If you go to the Thatch when it's busy, you have to juggle a bit. That's just licensed activities. I'm not trying to stop these guys getting through kayaks and longboards. You know, I've got longboards. My son's got longboards. I've got bikes. You know, my daughter's got a longboard. We come and go as well. We've got supboards right now. They're using them and they're bigger than the kayaks. So
But you're closed when you use them. You're not an open
where
restaurant.
PC High deems that there are no issues when you're coming and going with sports equipment during service, then I don't see why there should be an issue. And if there's a problem with it being public danger, then I think then realistically speaking, that needs to be addressed. I'm not sure that falls on me, given that I've given you 1500 mil access right the way down.
Chair,
Okay,
Yeah,
just,
I think
Chair,
we
if
move
I could
on now to the
get-
summing up.
hang on,
That is anything, yeah.
Chair, first of all, can I just be clear that the objections that have been laid under the headings of children harm, noise, nuisance, public safety. So if Mr. Parkhouse could just elaborate, so to remind you of what the representation is under the headings of.
So public, do you want me to read out the objection?
Not all of it. Some.
Some of them. So yeah, public safety is the access and egress through the tables. The prevention of public nuisance is the potential for noise within the area from use of the tables. And then the protection of children from harm was children accessing the objector's property, not actually accessing the restaurant. It's accessing their property through a licensed premises.
So just to make it clear, those are the objections in front of you today, upon which you will have to decide whether it's appropriate or not to. And you've heard, and if you've got any more questions, now is the time to ask them, because we won't have another opportunity to ask questions. And if you want to hear from Mr. Parkhouse about any licensing query, now is the time to ask.
I think just maybe on the noise, now we've just sort of recapped on the 3 objections. Is there anything that you could put in place to reduce the amount? Obviously, it's been brought to us that there are obstructions, sort of, you know, from people eating or sitting at the tables, as in dogs, pushers, and the noise level. Is there anything that you could bring or propose that would limit the noise to the neighbours of people sat on those tables?
So I think we've kind of tried to sort of future-proof this when we bought the gazebo for the top patio. Obviously, we're looking at the weather as well, and the pull-out blue awning. And I do take on board, I'll repeat, I do take on board that they want to get kayaks through, and that's fair enough. So I'd be happy to say, yeah, well, we'll just open it to the width of the table to keep people dry. But equally, in having an awning over the top, that in turn will effectively muffle an element of noise. The speaker, as I said, if we do manage to get a license down to the front, it would be located down the front. So I'll be soundproofing.
You know, more about the actual noise coming from you know,
People
we're using it.
Yeah, I mean,
And that would be, so what I'm asking really, Mr. Coulson, is there anything in place if that got rather noisy outside, as people do, if they've got you know, alcohol within meal, the noise of your customers, you know, what could you offer to maybe, or is there anything that you could suggest that would reduce that noise and maybe not block any of the walkway through?
absolutely. So we've installed CCTV. This was what was encouraged for me to do by licensing team, because that obviously helps the monitor goings on within our license plate. Okay, we've also got a sign on the wall, so as people come and go, respectful of neighbours. I can't remember the exact wording, but you know the sort of.
And it says, please be mindful that there are neighbours when leaving. It doesn't say anything about while you're sat there for the full time that you're eating, please keep your voices down.
Okay, I'll ask
anything like
Mr.
that.
Coulson what he may actually,
Yeah.
you know, would you be able to monitor that noise level?
Yeah, so this is what we're trying to do. And when I mentioned
By what means?
when I mentioned bringing on extra staff
Okay.
going forward, that would give my wife the facility to be down there. We've had people down the front who've come in and wanted to walk out with drinks, and I've had to go down and stop them. Equally, we've had people down there smoking, and we were no smoking premises, and I've had to go down and ask them not to do it. It's a question. It's very difficult unless there's a specific threshold which we have to work within. It's very difficult to actually say, okay, that's the line. So what we do is we look to monitor it on a regular basis. And if it did become a problem or a concern, then I want to be made aware of it. If it's just noise for the sake of noise because you've got tables there, yeah, I invite the HO to come and listen to it and sit in their conservatory and sit at 8 o'clock Saturday night, whenever the busy time is. That's not a problem for me. In fact, I've been in touch with the HO as regards to thresholds on noise and stuff. There's a lot of bad blood, but you know, equally it's their home and they've got a right to enjoy it as I have mine. With regards to noise pollution, yeah, that's another can of worms that I'm not going to go into, which also goes the other way. But I'm not going to get involved with that right now, but there's a lot of history. So other than managing it on a practical level, and I'll change the sign, and the wording.
From a customer
Okay.
point of view,
I think unless I'll ask the legal advice, is there anything else that we need to know before
I
we?
just wanted to check, Chair, that you, as councillors, are aware that an EHO is the Environmental Health Officer. So that's what he meant by EHO. So he has been discussing noise management, I believe, not only with the licensing officer, but with the environmental health teams.
So,
Any
okay, yeah.
final words and limit this, please?
so yeah, so the tunnel is half closed at the entrance. The prevailing wind is southwesterly, so when people talk, that noise comes straight up the tunnel and we hear it. It's amplified. Okay. And as regards, he wants to appease and do things so that we're satisfied. It's simple. Keep the restaurant in the back and the licensee in the back. Problem solved. Where it initially was.
Mr. Corskin, any final words?
I'd love to pull out my phone and show you, I'm not going to, don't worry, show you a 30-second clip when my daughter was sat on the patio with Vertigo with ear defenders on last summer off school, and Andy's playing AC/DC at completely unbelievable volumes. I'd also love to show you a clip of me walking out and seeing Andy staring out of the window playing ridiculously loud music. I'm very happy to do it. I don't want to take up your time. So with regards to their concerns with noise pollution, ultimately, if this were to escalate and go further, I don't believe you have a leg to stand on, because the noise pollution, which I've invited the EO to oversee it, the environmental health to oversee, and I'd be super happy to welcome them and take their advice. I believe that will be far less than what we've been inflicted to as a family over the years in our private dwelling. Happy to show you.
There's a big difference between playing one song very loudly and having people sat there night after night after night, eating and drinking and shouting and laughing.
Okay, I think we're going over same ground. So, there's no other comments, I think, that aren't repeated versions.
I think now if we.
No more questions? Okay, so Chair, if you could ask everybody to sum up.
The members to actually leave the room along with it. We have an admin.
Well, just check Mr. Parkhouse has got nothing to sum up with.
No witnesses. I don't see anybody here from Mr. Corson to support the application. No, I should have asked that, but obviously I didn't see anybody else in the room. So we're quite happy now to.
Yeah, there's no further summing up. So if the clerks could ask the parties to be located, I suspect we might be a little while, so.
It was a little while to be out there, but I'm sure it was nice to get a bit of fresh air. So, right, I'm going to call on Mr. Turnbull now to read out the conclusion of the hearing. So, over to you.
The council has determined, upon hearing from the applicant and from the objective, grant of the premises licence is appropriate with the conditions included below. The purpose of the Licensing Act 2003 and the licensing objectives are met, provided the applicant complies with the attached conditions and mandatory conditions to the licence. The reasons for this are: the applicant wishes to develop his business and include on and off sales from his restaurant and remove conditions that restrict sale of alcohol to table meals only. Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003 aims to provide a regulatory framework for alcohol which reflects the needs of local communities and empowers local authorities to make and enforce decisions about the most appropriate strategies for the area. Losing breath. In consideration of this aspect, the committee considers that the conditions imposed are necessary to support all four licensing objectives: the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. The subcommittee took into consideration the issues raised by the objectors, these being in relation to the following licensing objectives: the prevention of public nuisance, public safety, protection of children from harm. C, the protection of children from harm objection relates to the sale of alcohol to children, and there will be no activities that would require restrictions on children accessing premises. The applicant will be operating challenge 25, therefore the subcommittee has no concerns relating to this objection. D, in terms of public safety, there is adequate space between tables to ensure safe access and egress. However, if customers and their paraphernalia were allowed to congregate in the area, there would be a potential for obstruction. Therefore, the applicant will need to ensure a suitable management of the area to ensure a walkway is kept safe and unobstructed, and there is suitable access and egress at all times. A member of staff to ensure that this area is monitored during our open hours and managed appropriately. Further advice to include this in any risk assessment held by the business. E, in terms of public nuisance, it was noted there was a potential for noise nuisance. However, the subcommittee decided that the applicant's offer of restricting the sale of alcohol after 9 p.m. in the outside area for those purchasing food would remove the potential of excess noise from the customers solely drinking alcohol. It was felt the cut-off time of 9 p.m. was reasonable for alcohol-only sales for those wishing to use the outside area. There had been no objections from the Environmental Protection or the police licensing officer in relation to potential noise nuisance. The committee decided to impose the following condition. After 9 p.m, the outside area will only be used by customers purchasing food. There follows the mandatory conditions imposed by the police under the Licensing Act 2003 as attached. Happy?
Yes, no, the subcommittee will vote on that. So, Councillor Hayward Booth, for or against four? Yeah, Councillor Creighton, and I'm for. I believe now we can,
Please, could I just ask Mr Temple to go to the right of appeal paragraph at the end, just to make sure that parties present are aware of the right of appeal. The end there?
Appeal provisions.
Yes, there.
Yeah. Any person so specified in Schedule 5, Paragraph 2 of the Licensing Act 2003 may appeal against the grant of this licence, including the imposition of any conditions, excluding those mentioned in sections 19, 20 and 21 of the 2003 Act. Any such appeals must be commenced by notice of appeal given by the appellant to the Barnstaple Magistrates, Barnstaple Law Courts, Northwalk, Barnstaple, Devon, EX31 1DX, within the period of 21 days beginning with the date of this notice. A premises licence and summary of it, together with the plan for premises, will be sent after this 21-day period if no notice of appeal has been received.
Thank you.
that concludes the end of the hearing. So, thank you all for coming.
Will we get a copy of that by email, that what you've just read out?
In terms of the minutes,
Yeah.
yeah, the minutes will be produced
And the final decision?
will be on the minutes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And the appeal will be on there as well. The appeal process, what you've just read out, how we go about
Let's
it.
go into the minutes, is that right?
It's on the bottom of the decision.
Yes.
Okay.
I just offer something. Obviously, it's gone my way, and I think that's I'm obviously stoked. But I will say at this point that I'm going to be super respectful of the way we operate. And I'd also like to say, with you guys present, rather than this going like full scale, magistrates, solicitors, everything else, ultimately ends up costing a lot of money and nobody really gains. I would ask that they give me the scope over the course of the summer, and if they do feel there's an issue, then I'd be super happy to mitigate with regards to our business going forward to prevent the need for legal action. And I think that's a fair way to play it.
Yeah, if I could just cut in and just say, there was discussion about mediation, and maybe that's something that as parties you could look into, and no doubt the objectors have sought legal advice and will have asked about that, and for whatever reason will opt in for that. So that is part of what the magistrate, sorry, not magistrate, thought I was in court for a minute, the councillors were discussing. So if that is something that you guys can operate and opt into, then by all means that's much more healthy than a legal full-scale argument.
Any mediation would have to be done through a solicitor, because like I said
That's
before,
possible. That is possible.
he's a liar, and he.
Okay, that's possible. Okay, Chair, if you could close the hearing.
Lovely, lovely. Thank everybody here in attendance.